On December 8th, 2023, the servers for Battlefield Bad Company 2 are shutting down, which kind of sucks because Bad Company 2 is probably one of my favorite first-person shooters of all time. I first got this game, I think, around 2012. It was during a Black Friday event, and I picked it up at a Best Buy along with Black Ops 2. I think they were on sale for like $20 each or something like that, and I thought it was a really good deal at the time. So I picked it up. I picked up the Ultimate Edition of Bad Company 2 for the PS3. And, at the time, my only other real first-person shooter experience was Call of Duty 4. And I think World at War had come out. And so me and my friends, we were primarily just Call of Duty players. We were, I think, in late middle school when that sort of thing just kind of was like at the peak of its popularity, when Call of Duty was like, everywhere. I mean, it's still really popular now, I guess, but around like that Modern Warfare 2 era was when it was really beginning to skyrocket. And I think at the time Bad Company 2 was also kind of that next big leap for the Battlefield franchise, at least for the console market. It did a lot to adapt some of the trends that Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2 were setting up with the way that their multiplayer worked. But at the same time, it was such a different multiplayer experience, especially for me. I wasn't used to playing on these large open maps where you can, take different vehicles, go to different locations and do whatever you want. And you had different class abilities, like as a medic, you could revive people or heal them, during combat, or repair vehicles as an engineer. So it was a really cool thing, and I remember thinking to myself at the time, like these sort of events where you can actually just pilot, a chopper or spawn in a teammate's vehicle and then use the minigun. I thought to myself, these are something that you would have to use like a kill streak for in Call of Duty, but here it's like you just grab the vehicle or spawn in the spot, and then you're immediately using all these cool weapons and things like that. And it was kind of eye-opening to me, and I remember gravitating more towards Bad Company 2 at the time. I think I might have played it more actually than Modern Warfare 2 on the PS3, just because of how much more varied the gameplay felt to me. Like I played Modern Warfare 2 a lot, but once I picked up Bad Company 2 and tried it out, it was just this whole new experience for me. And I remember really liking it. I think I played it a lot more. I bought it alongside Black Ops 2, and I played it way more than I did Black Ops 2. In fact, I don't think I finished the campaign for Black Ops 2 until like several years later. And even then, with that game, I never really played the multiplayer all that much. I just kind of played it on and off just to see what it was like. But I think in the years following, I had started to kind of peter off of the Call of Duty franchise. Like Battlefield 3 followed after Bad Company 2, and I remember me and a lot of my friends got really hyped for that. I think it was 2011, maybe. I think I said earlier 2012, but it might have been 2011 when Modern Warfare 3 and Battlefield 3 kind of went head to head, and it was like that whole, which is the better modern military shooter, and Battlefield 3 just felt like a massive step forward for the franchise compared to what Modern Warfare 3 did. Even back then, Modern Warfare 3 felt a lot like just Modern Warfare 2 as an expansion pack, because visually it didn't look all that different. Gameplay-wise, practically nothing had really changed. Very similar weapons, all that. But with Battlefield 3, it was this crazy whole thing. But anyway, going back to Bad Company 2, I remember playing a ton of Rush, and it was this, interesting game type compared to just the regular team deathmatch or domination that you'd get in Call of Duty, because Rush had a lot of these, moments during a single match where you could have, massive groups of people. I think the max on the PS3 might have been like 24 players. I'm not sure. It might have been 24 or 32, but a lot larger compared to what you would get in a Call of Duty match. So you'd see all these crazy explosions happening all over the place. People, taking cover, firing, taking pot shots at each other from these massive distances, and you'd be able to coordinate with your squad and figure out like, all right, let's take this objective while the enemy's distracted over here, things like that. And this was, I think, the time when they started using the only in battlefield slogan. I'm not entirely sure if that was when they started using it, but I think this was around the time when I started seeing it pop up more, the only in battlefield, which they also used in Battlefield 3. But it was basically just a moniker for all these little events, dynamic player actions that'll happen. Like I remember one time playing, playing on the Bad Company Vietnam expansion pack, which I think came out around that same year as well, or maybe it was the year after. It might have been the year after, actually. It might have been around 2010. Let's see. I'm not entirely sure what the dates are. Whichever year Black Ops 1 came out, because I remember getting the Vietnam expansion and Black Ops 1 at the same time as well. But anyway, there was a Bad Company Vietnam expansion pack, and there was a shotgun attachment that you could get called 12 gauge slugs. And basically what it does is it allows you to make the shotgun super accurate. Like the crosshairs literally become just a straight cross in the middle of the screen instead of the circular crosshair. And it basically turned the shotgun into a sniper rifle. And there's a moment we were playing, I think it was Kaisan Temple, and I was trying to defend one of the points. It was Conquest. It's trying to defend, like, I think A or something like that. And there was a chopper that was flying towards me. And I kind of panicked and aimed and tried to shoot at the pilot with the 12 gauge shotgun. And it actually worked. Like, I shot the guy, got a headshot straight through the windshield of the helicopter, and it just came crashing down. And I remember thinking, like, that's such an insane moment. That seems like something that would be completely scripted, in like a campaign event. But no, it's just these sort of things happen in multiplayer. Like I've seen people, one of the most common, I guess, strategies was taking one of the ATVs and strapping it with a bunch of C4, and you just ride it up, over like a hill or something, and launch it into the enemy base, and then you blow up all the C4 and cause this massive explosion. And Bad Company 2 was one of the it really was the game that kind of opened my eyes to those sort of wacky shenanigans that you can do in multiplayer. I'd played Bad Company 1 very briefly over at a friend's house prior to that. We were playing, I think it was co-op. We were playing split screen, I think, on his Xbox 360, because he didn't have Xbox Live at the time, so we didn't play online. But I remember playing it and thinking, like, oh man, this is pretty different from COD 4. You don't have regenerating health. You gotta patch yourself up with this stim pack, and the campaign wasn't completely linear and scripted. It was very like, here's this kind of like large map, and you have a series of objectives to it, which kind of funnily enough is, I guess, similar to what the newest Modern Warfare 3 did with their campaign, where they just drop you in this large open map and then just tell you, here's your 3 objectives and go do whatever. No real narrative, I guess, to consider. But that's for a whole nother topic. Bad Company 1 was interesting to me, but at the same time, when I played it, it just didn't really grab me as much. Like, the gunplay was okay. It didn't feel, I guess, as satisfying to me at the time compared to Call of Duty 4. But the switch over to Bad Company 2, you can definitely feel a lot of the things that they kind of copied a little over from COD 4. Like you'd see the points stack up whenever you get a kill in multiplayer. You'd see those pop up. The hit marker was very COD like, even though I know that those things were already there in the Battlefield franchise. But Bad Company 2 really was just this kind of cool next step forward in terms of online first-person shooters. And the simplicity to it, they don't have like hundreds of guns like you'd see in a lot of these newer games. You have like maybe a couple dozen weapons throughout the whole multiplayer between your primary and secondary, but they didn't go crazy with the attachments. Like I think you could attach like red dot sights or something to some weapons, but they took the place of your 3 gear slots. So it was a lot more limited, I guess, in what you could do in terms of player customization. But I thought it was good enough, and the lack of customization actually made it a lot more, I guess, streamlined. Because nowadays I get so confused with all these, like in the new Modern Warfare, you got all this gunsmith things, and you have all these different attachments that you can unlock for your gun. And I guess some people really like that sort of thing, but for me, it's just way too much to kind of have to think about when I all I really want to do is get into the match and play. In Bad Company 2, you have 4 classes, a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, and 3, I guess you could call them perks, but they're kind of like different gear / attachments that you can equip. There's like a vehicle ability that you can equip. You could make your character sprint faster or carry more ammo or more explosive or things like that. But it made it a lot simpler to just kind of pick up and play. And most of the learning aspect was kind of figuring out how to properly use the class, not having to deal with menus and items and things like that. The most interesting part, I think, was the class system, because you could go into it as far as I came into it, coming from like my Call of Duty experience. I was used to having just custom classes in Call of Duty without any sort of abilities that class could actually use, besides whatever weapon or additional perks that you apply to it. But in Bad Company 2, I think my favorite class ended up being the medic, just because it allowed me to play the game and get still engaged in the action without having to have a really good aim, because I'm not very good at aiming or the core gunplay in these first person shooters, but it allowed me to still help out the team even if I was a pretty bad shot, because I could go around reviving people who were killed. I could patch them up with med kits and all that stuff, and it makes it so much, I guess, more enjoyable for different types of players of different skill levels. And since you didn't have to worry too much about all these other extra things, a beginner could come in, okay, I have a med kit, I have shock battles, and I have the gun. If I don't want to, get too into the combat and then the main gunplay, that's fine. I can just hang back and just, heal people and all that stuff. So it was a really cool thing. I never really got into the recon class or anything like that, just because I thought that the sniping was pretty difficult for me, especially on a controller. It was just a lot of those little things that kind of made the game a lot more interesting, I guess, much more diverse in its gameplay mechanics compared to just going around a map and then shooting everyone. Although the gunplay was still really good too there. It is a real shame, and I'm not entirely sure why EA has decided to shut down the servers for these older games, because as far as I'm aware, all 3 of these older Frostbite engine games, like Bad Company 1, Battlefield 1943, and Bad Company 2, are getting their servers shut down. I can't imagine that it would cost them too much to keep the servers up, but I guess the player counts just aren't really there to warrant it. You can still find, a handful of decently populated servers depending on what time of day it is right now. But unfortunately, on December 8th, they are going to be closing down these servers, and for the most part, I think for the casual person, I think that might be it. There is a custom community runs server called Project Rome that you can connect to. But when I tried that out, it was kind of barely populated. Hopefully, more people will kind of migrate over to that once the official servers are shut down. But yeah, unfortunately, it is just it's a real shame, and I guess they just want to kind of push as many people as they can over to the newer games like Battlefield 2042, where they can charge for microtransactions and cosmetics and battle passes and things like that. Because in the old games, you just play the game, you unlock the weapons and the gear just by ranking up, and it was pretty straightforward. You didn't have to buy anything. I don't even think there was an option to buy the things. Although there might have been like a DLC where you can get some custom camo for your player, but I'm not entirely sure on that. I don't think the microtransactions really took force until around Battlefield 4 was when they started introducing like loot boxes and things like that. In any case, if you have Battlefield Bad Company 2 and you feel like suddenly playing it a little bit, I'd recommend giving it another run through. There's still a few populated servers online right now, and it's still a lot of fun. I just played it recently, and yeah, it's just like there's just something so satisfying about how simple the game is to pick up and play. And it's just, you don't have to worry too much about metas or anything like that. Just go in, join a server, have fun.